right, welcome to Wise Up on Air. Damien Kastbauer, and software product manager here at Audiokinetic. We got some excitement lined up. We're going to talk game audio. We're going to talk interactive sound. We're going to talk music with emotions. We're going to dig into sonic storytelling, in-game binaural recording. I know folks are on the edge of their seat about that. This is a super cool feature that really speaks to the art form. Moving straight into our developer spotlight, I'm joined by some special guests who I'd like to introduce to you now. And so without further ado, let me welcome the folks behind Season, A Letter to the Future. How's everyone doing?
Hey. Hello. 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 It's going great.
Okay, fantastic. So the audio for this game is fantastic. I know we're going to dig deep into it and uncover some of the really cool, interesting, technical, and emotional things that you've surfaced. But let's get some introductions out of the way. And so I hand it off to you, Spencer, to introduce yourself.
Let's set the scene for the listener.
I'm Spencer Doran. I'm a composer, sound designer, and independent researcher based in Portland, Oregon. And I was the audio director and composer for Season, A Letter to the Future. Season is a meditative exploration game from Scavenger Studio out of Montreal. And I worked with a team there. And you play as a young woman in a secluded village who is sort of tasked with saving the memories from a civilization that's on the verge of collapse, you could say.
I come from a little village in the mountains. No one has left here since before I was born. But our lives changed overnight.
There's kind of a cataclysmic event that is in the near future, which she has to travel through a landscape which is completely unfamiliar to her and document it and discover it for herself, maybe discover some of her own things about herself in the process.
What is this season that is about to end? And why is it ending? What exactly is out there that could turn the world inside out?
In doing so, she takes photographs as well as makes field recordings and then documents all of this in her journal. I worked exclusively with Vibe Avenue, who are here with today, who did all of the Wise production on the project. I'll let them introduce themselves.
Hello, everyone. My name is FX Dupas. I am one of the two co-founders of Vibe Avenue, co-founded the studio 11 years ago with Mathieu Lavoie. We were acquired by Side Global a few months ago, so we became Side Montreal, where I currently act as a creative director and lead composer. So my role is to make sure that the games ship at the level of quality that we want in terms of audio.
I remember your friend Pate made this little bird. You wanted to protect it, keep it like a pet. But you took good care of it, and years went by. You'd done it. It was still intact.
I'm a composer, first and foremost. I did musical studies at the Conservatory in France, and then a master's in film scoring, and then a doctorate in interactive music for video games in Montreal. And but I also touched everything in the game audio world, did sound design, mixing, etc. In Season, I was just doing overview of the project and giving advice and guiding the team and making sure that the game was sounding the way we wanted to.
You will chaperone these delicate things into the future.
Yeah, and it's been a pleasure to know you for so many years. Your role in the community in Montreal, and yeah, your spirit of sharing and involvement. It's been fun to watch Vibe Avenue grow over these last years.
I'm Nicolas Viel. In the 2010s, I've studied at the University of Montreal. I was learning classical composition in my courses. I had the opportunity to be in a class of FX Dupas about game audio. Younger, I was a gamer, but I never really considered it as a career. When I got my hands on Wise for the first time, I fell in love. Putting my first sound in a game was like an epiphany. It felt so cool. I then became the student who does not listen in class, but has all the right answers. FX probably remembers.
If you have a better idea how to protect your brain from being destroyed, let's hear it. That's what I thought.
So FX noticed my skills in the course and invited me to an internship at Vibe Avenue. And the rest is history. I've been there ever since, passing from music intern to now audio manager. I'm now in charge of assigning the resources on multiple projects, and my passion for sounds manifests itself in doing complicated Wise systems. For me, that's the fun part, how to make the sound interact with the game in a clever way. It's always cool. I love doing it for many things. Music system, of course, but also sound design systems, interactive mixing, dynamic mixing, and everything. I dig into our projects, and I try to make everyone's work shine as bright as possible. In season, I was in charge of the music system. I also did a lot of coordination and some debugging, of course.
I check the pockets and find all kinds of little things you'd collected off the ground. Rocks, leaves, bits of string, and bugs.
Hello, my name is Manuel Silva. I'm an audio supervisor and senior sound design at Vibe Avenue, side Montreal now. For about more than 8 years now. I was recruited by Mathieu Lavoie at the university, one of the co-founders at Vibe too, with FX. And I have grown with the company ever since. I specialize in high-profile sounds, and I give audio direction and guidance to the team. I make sure our projects have the highest quality audio possible.
This time, let's follow our intuition, gather some pieces, and see what happens. What magic might be hiding in this day, which will pass and never return?
I'm coming from Chile, so I have like another life. Before I study foreign trade in the past, I worked in foreign trade in Chile. And then for personal reasons, I came here to Canada. And well, I decided to follow my dream to study audio. Since I have memory, I was in love about sound design without knowledge, without knowing what it was. I was always wondering why Star Wars sounds like that, what they did to sounds like that. And also I have a classical formation in music guitar and guitar in music. And well, I came here and I went to a private school to study for sound design. And then I went to university, Université de Montréal, to study, I guess the good translation is digital audio. So in season, I did a lot of sound design, a lot of sound design, voice editing, and mixing, and some debugging.
Such a interesting story for how they got to where they are today, if I may say so. I love hearing it, and it's just so cool to have, all of your superpowers combined in Season, A Letter to the Future, in such a dynamic and emotional way. One thing I learned from, playing the game and our conversations is just how much of you is in this game. The experiences you bring, and I think that that's a really, it's a really important thing to recognize, that that we go to work every day, we have these jobs, we punch the clock and get paid, but we're also giving so much of ourselves to these experiences in the hopes of making these kind of connections with people. And to me, that's where this gets really exciting. So thanks.
It might be possible to pass on this blessing, to divide its power among the people you've met on your journey, to shepherd them into the next season.
Spencer, like as a composer, you're quite an interesting character, and with everything that you experiment. I mean, personally, I have not been in touch that much with you during the process, so I would be interested in learning more about how you came into doing what you do, day to day, and why do you do the kind of music and research that you're doing.
Yeah, so the way that I came into working on Season was I have my own musical project. It's a duo called Visible Cloaks, with a number of albums that we've released over the years. And Kevin, who is the director, Kevin Sullivan of Season, was a fan of our music, and he just kind of cold call emailed me out of the blue. This was kind of right as the pandemic had happened, and I had a bunch of projects that I was working on, like both doing sort of environmental sound design commissions and then touring, and had a big show at the Barbican in London and all this sort of stuff. And all of it got canceled. And a lot of people who, musicians that was in my shoes, didn't really know what I was going to do for the time being. And kind of just in the middle of, I think it was June or maybe May, sort of right when all this was sort of onsetting in 2020, Kevin just emailed me out of the blue being just like, hey, I'm a fan of your music. I'm working on this game that I've been writing for a number of years, and we're getting some funding to kind of finally start working on it. And would you be interested in working on it? And he sort of sent me a little pitch deck and a little video that he had cut together with a bunch of directors that I was familiar with. I mean, he's kind of coming from the film world more than the game world initially, so it was people like Terrence Malick. Immediately I was like, oh yeah, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself right now, but this sounds really interesting.
The Greyhands are the future in all its uncertainty, the good and the bad, the hope and fear of progress. The loneliness of this season will be left behind. A collective project is coming.
It sort of intersected with a lot of my other research into music called Kankyo-ongaku, which is sort of like a Japanese ambient environmental sort of history that traces back to R. Murray Schafer and all these soundscape researchers. And the premise behind the game really aligned very quickly with a lot of the stuff that I had already kind of been thinking about. So we sort of started working on it, and then the game got picked up by Sony to be an exclusive on PlayStation. The needs of the team sort of grew exponentially, and that's when we brought Vive Avenue on to work on the project. And it was really great. I mean, again, this was my first ever time working in the game audio world, so it was a lot of learning as I went, but also sort of bringing an outsider perspective, both musically and based on a lot of my research that I had done. So I made a big kind of pitch deck to the team to sort of explain my process, and then being the composer as well as the lead audio director was very necessary because a lot of the score and the sound of the game are very intertwined, and there's a lot of overlapping things that we're taking into consideration there. So it was definitely a lot of work, but a really amazing process to be involved in.
Well, and I can't help but wonder, having that outsider perspective, like you said, you didn't know what you couldn't do. And so it's it's not every game that's reaching for an in-game binaural recorder, right?
It's okay not to understand everything right away. The moment may pass before you've gotten a firm hold on it. But as long as you're there to witness it, to take it down in your journal, you and others to come will someday take the time to make sense of it all.
But also with the music systems and stuff too, like working with Miko here, like a lot of times I would be trying to describe my vision for what I wanted something to do, and it was not really how things are done per se, but he worked it out, and we sort of, I think, came to some really interesting processes of composing. I mean, I'm really interested in like generative composing and stuff like that, so it kind of dovetails into a lot of that. And now I sort of wish that I had Wise available to drop into Ableton and do all this sort of same tricks that we used, you know, on my own composing process for my own like solo music and stuff. So.
And of course, it's super fun for a music integrator to have the challenge of figuring out how to do a system that is not think in the way of like, oh, this is going to work like this in Wise. So, of course, that was super fun. Yeah.
If you can dream it, you can do it. And I think that there's, you know, something to that in your story for sure, because it does take a vision, and sometimes being unburdened by the way things are done traditionally is a really great way to approach something, because you don't know what you don't know. You never get a chance to be naive about things more than once. So it sounds like you were able to, again, find great collaborators to build these supportive systems for the game on all the different levels.